Hey Shenango County 4-H, it's Janet. For today's project, we're going to do something a little bit gross. It's actually going to take a few days to complete this project, but we'll get started today. What we're actually going to do is a mold science experiment, and we're going to need to create a base for our mold to grow on. So for today's experiment, what you're going to need is a box of unflavored gelatin. You'll need a pot, a small pot, not a huge one, a stovetop obviously to heat your water. We're going to need 2 cups of water in a measuring cup, measured out. You will also need a whisk to make your gelatin. You'll need a ladle to ladle it out when we're done. If you don't have a whisk, wooden spoon, plastic spoon will work fine. You will also need some Q-tips. We're going to be swabbing tomorrow after our gelatin has set. You'll need to have some sort of sterilized dish. It can be some canning jars, it could be some plastic containers of some sort. I have here at the office some Petri dishes that I have sterilized in extremely hot water, so we'll be using those. Also a tray to put your samples on while we're letting them set and after we swab and let them grow. You'll also need a marker of some sort to mark your containers so you know where the mold came from and how it's growing. So to get started, we're going to turn on our burner. And I'll just turn this over a little bit so you guys can see me work. So we're going to turn on our burner. We're going to take our water. Now I only have 2 packages of gelatin, so I need approximately 1 cup. It's 2 cups if you have four packages, but I don't want to make that much agar for our project today because I'm not anticipating swabbing a whole lot of sites. So we're going to let that get started. Get out my 2 packages of gelatin, which to make the gelatin, the instructions are on the back of the box. Please make sure when you're doing this you have a parent or an older teen with you so that we don't get burned today. We're just going to open our packets of gelatin. Put them in the water and start whisking. We are going to do this, cook the gelatin until it begins to boil. While you're waiting for your gelatin solution to boil and to thicken up a little bit, you can open up your cups or your Petri dishes. If you are using a Petri dish, the deeper part is the bottom that we're actually going to be ladling our solution into. You can set those on your tray, evenly space them out. Try not to get your fingers in them while you're setting them out because that would be contamination. While you're doing this and waiting for it to boil, think in your head, where do you think some of the dirtiest places around your house may be? Make a list. Try to figure out where you'd want to swab and how dirty you think that'll be, or maybe how much mold you think will grow over the next week. Then, once we get going on our experiment and we complete it, we can see if your hypothesis or your educated guess was correct or not. Gelatin is cooled a little bit. We are going to very carefully pull our tray close to the stovetop, take our ladle, and very carefully fill approximately half full our little dishes. In my case, my Petri dishes. We're going to fill each container, and it's okay if you have a little bit extra, no worries. Fill them and let them set for 24 hours until they are set solid. We're going to let these dishes sit for approximately 24 hours until they solidify. If they're solidified today, before I'm done with work, I will conduct my experiment. I will go and swab my intended sites. Take my swabs very gently, rub them on my gelatin solution. And hopefully you've had time, or you will have time to brainstorm a list. I've started my list while I was waiting for my pot to boil. What I'm looking at is my cell phone, the trash can lid, the door handle, bathroom faucet handle, maybe the vehicle door handle on my vehicle. I do have 10 samples to swab, so I'll come up with the rest of my list as you come up with yours. All right, it is now afternoon and my gels have set, so I'm going to start swabbing and gently putting my swabs onto my solution, my gels, and once I've done that, I will label each top and cap them. I have my chart already made up. I am going to swab my cell phone, the trash can lid, door handle, bathroom faucet, the door handle to my Jeep, the stove top here, my hands, my computer, and I'm going to be brave enough to go swab a toilet seat. So I put my hypothesis of how clean or dirty I think they'll be in mold, like if there'll be a lot of mold or a little bit of mold growing from these different sites. Also on my chart, to keep track of my science experiment, I'm going to look at day 1, day 3, day 5, and day 7 to measure mold growth. And we can either do that visually, or we can actually take a ruler and measure how big our mold growth pattern is on our gels. So with that, what you're going to need to do next is to wet your Q-tips and gently just swab whatever surface. I have my phone here, so we're just going to swab whatever surface we have and then gently swab the top of our gels. Remember, 1 Q-tip per swabbing surface per gel, so we don't cross-contaminate. So I've wet my Q-tip. I'm going to very gently swab the surface of my phone. I might do the sides as well. I've actually predicted that my cell phone will probably have a pretty good level of mold growth. Past studies have shown that cell phones are quite dirty. So just so you guys can see, I'm gently rubbing the top of this gel with my Q-tip. Okay, I'm going to put the lid on so we don't have any contamination whatsoever. Q-tip's going to go in the garbage. I'm going to label my lid and I'm going to go get the rest of my samples. All right, once we have all of our samples labeled and once we have all of our samples labeled, tops on, now we need to find a dark spot to store these to encourage mold growth. For me, I'm in the kitchen and I'm just going to find a dark cupboard to set these in, and I will check on them tomorrow. Tomorrow will be day 1 and we'll start recording our findings. Once you have your samples stored in their dark location, it's a good idea to take your checklist, your table, put that on a clipboard where you can easily find it, or else leave it in the cupboard dark space where you've put your samples so everything is together. We hope you're having a great time following along with us at Shenango County 4-H and that you're finding all these activities very useful. Have a great day, Shenango County 4-H. We'll talk to you soon.